Hi guys, my name is Christine, and today I'm talking about everything is one. So this is like a God consciousness video and connecting to oneness. So what is oneness then? So let's get into that. So oneness is when you get to a state of mind, a state of being, where you become very relaxed and peaceful and calm. And you can sort of see how everything is connected to everything else. So, for example, as human beings is a good way to start this. Yeah. So you'll see that if you look back on the generations of human beings, it's almost like we're all related to each other. Because if you go back, right, okay, so there's two people that made you, yeah, and then there's four people that made that person, and it just goes back and back and back like that. And if you go back all the way to, if you do that sort of math, if you do that math, and you go back to the times of like Plato and things like that, there's been trillions of people, almost, that have made you, and but there's never been that many people on the planet. So basically what that means is that we're all related to each other. Yeah, we're all related to each other. Obviously a lot of people, it's a lot far back, right? We're not very close related to some people, but we're all connected. We're all related in some way, some mathematical crazy way. If you go back as far as that, if you keep on doing like, okay, so two people made me, and four people made them, it goes back and back and back. And it's just amazing, basically, when you try and figure that out, and you think about it in your head, and it's like we're all connected, we're all related. You see, another way that you can sort of do this is by contemplating nature. So if you think about nature, so let's think of like a raspberry bush, right? So a raspberry bush can create so many raspberries, right? And if all of those raspberries, the seeds in the raspberries was planted, it would create so many raspberry bushes. And it all just comes from one bush. One bush can create thousands, if not more, raspberry bushes. Same with, like, if you think about any kind of fruit, like a mango. One mango tree could create a whole orchard, even more. And it's just amazing how that all works and how that all sort of comes together like that. In one seed can create a forest, potentially, right? And that is amazing. And if you really contemplate these kinds of things, you start to feel more connected to oneness. Obviously, being in nature really helps to do this, because you can sort of like slow down. And you really do need to slow down. You need to slow down your mind when you are trying to connect to oneness. But it starts with these contemplations, right? So go out in nature and just look at the leaves on the trees and just slow down. Just slow down. And if you look as well with people again, you can almost, when you get to this state of mind, you can almost see yourself in everyone, right? So if you see someone struggling on the street, right, you can see how you can relate to that. Yeah. And in reality, you can relate to everybody, because eventually we will all be dust. Yeah, these bodies are finite. They're gonna diminish, right? We're not gonna live forever. And if you sort of contemplate that and think how we are all in the same boat, we all have the same fate, whether that happens to one of us next week, next month, in 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, we've still got the same fate. We're all going to be dust. It's just that other people have different time frames than what you have. And again, that can really connect you to oneness and understanding that, and the relating to other human beings, and to know that we're all in the same boat. And what's also interesting as well is you can even connect to oneness and connect to this state of mind when you think back on the darker times in your life. Because even the darker times, so even like, let's say for example, if you think about your life as a tapestry, even the dark threads make the tapestry beautiful. And it's almost like the dark threads are also needed. And you see that dark times are just one of those things about being a human. You know, we go through sorrows, grief, illnesses. It's just one of those things about the bodily. It's just one of those things about being in a finite body that we can't control. And what's interesting about that is this. We sometimes believe that these things are not supposed to happen. People are not supposed to get sick. People are not supposed to die. And it's almost like we act like that. Well, like when someone dies, we, like, even if they're 90, we're like, oh my god, it's such sad news that so-and-so passed away. But it's like they were 90, you know? What do you expect? You know, it's one of those things, right? Even though it's sad that you lose someone that you love, but also it's meant to happen, and we act as if it's not meant to happen. And when you sort of see it from that point of view, it actually doesn't matter too much. It doesn't feel as bad, right, when someone dies, because you know that this is just what's meant to happen. It's natural. It's supposed to happen. We've all got a clock, and it just depends basically on when yours is going to run out and when the other person's is going to run out. But it's going to happen eventually. But we act as if it shouldn't. But if you think about it, if you really think about it, obviously when we say, oh, when someone dies, they're gone forever. But have you ever contemplated forever? It's hard, isn't it? It's hard to get your head around forever. Like, what you mean? I'm gone forever when I die? Like, I'm not coming back at all? And I think the reason why that is because we know deep down, even though we live in a finite body, we have an infinite spirit. We have infinite energy within us. We just return to the big soup of energy, basically, when we die. At least that's my personal belief. We just return back to that energy. And we don't necessarily die. Our body dies. If you weigh a body, the moment before and the moment after death, it weighs exactly the same. It doesn't weigh any different than when it was alive to when it was dead. And basically what that means is then that who you are, your spirit, is weightless. Weightless. So it has to go somewhere, right? And I think it goes back to just that energy field. But I don't think we do die. I think it's just a different kind of level of consciousness. It may even be a higher consciousness. Right? We may even be even more conscious of things, and more aware, and have different senses and things like that. But the important thing to know is that we're all in the same boat. We are all one. And if you really look for it, you'll see that. If you go out and observe people, and you go and observe nature, you can see how we are very, very similar. So even with someone who's like, let's say you're in a shop, right, and there's like an angry person who's waiting in the queue because the queue's too long and he's getting frustrated, you can relate to that. You can relate to that frustration. And you can also relate to the kindness that, say, you see an old woman dropping something in the supermarket and you see another person picking it up for her. You can relate to that. You can relate to the dropping of the item, and you can also relate to the kindness that you see when someone picks it up and helps her. if you actually really look at it, we're all very similar. We sort of think in the same kind of ways. And if you observe that and you go out and observe that, then you will definitely be more connected to oneness. Okay? But try and slow down and be able to observe these things, because you won't be able to connect to oneness if you're in a hurry and if you're in a state of trying to make life go faster. Okay? Because that's basically what happens when you're feeling stressed and panicked about some kind of thing, right? And you're trying to increase the speed of life, and you're trying to get places faster. That if you're running a bit late, you're really trying to get there on time and things like that. But just try and slow down, right? Try and slow down. It doesn't matter if you need to get somewhere 2 minutes sooner, right? Let it be, okay? And contemplate human beings, nature, and just give yourself time to do this, because I guarantee that you will feel more connected to oneness when you do that. So thank you so much for watching, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.